wonderful moment, for our community. It's a moment where we pause and remind ourselves of how thankful we are for all the generosity of so many people in our lives who really are making a huge difference here in our community. It's also a moment when we pause and hopefully mentor our students about the importance of philanthropy and the importance to start early and give back in any way that you can. We often just equate it to financial resources, but there are so many other ways to also give back of our time and our love and our friendship. And so this is a very special moment, particularly when in the next few weeks all our alumni, I see some of them in the room here today, are going to start coming back for a celebration of all that our students have done and a transformation of their lives as they go on to the next stage in their careers. So thank you for coming. I have the easiest part of all this, partially to just mention what a wonderful visionary contributor Sue has been in our lives. I've gotten to know her a little bit here and there over the last several months. I asked her, does she feel a little bit out of her element without the scrubs and various accoutrements of the operating room? And she said, yeah. But you know, we're going to love her, and we're going to love hearing from her because she's done so much. And with that, let me also introduce Lexi Fiener, who is a double major in physiology and psychology, a pre-med student. Couldn't be more appropriate to introduce Dr. Beckwith here. She's also a wonderful recipient of a named scholarship, so she's also the recipient, if you will, of Phil's generosity. So Lexi, take the podium. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, President Harold, for the introduction, and thanks to Lynette Marshall for the opportunity to introduce our 2016 Life with Phil speaker, Dr. Sue Beckwith. As President Harold said, my name is Lexi Fiener, and I am the president of the University of Iowa Foundation's Student Philanthropy Group. I joined the Student Philanthropy Group during my freshman year, and since then I've seen the incredible impact that philanthropy has had on our campus, and I've learned about the power of private support. Philanthropy has been important to me since my first year at Iowa, when I received scholarship support as an incoming student. As I became more involved in working with the Student Philanthropy Group and the Foundation, I discovered that many student scholarships, including the ones I had received, are funded by private support. This realization helped me understand that private giving doesn't just support the university, but it supports students as individuals. During my first Phil's Day as part of the Student Philanthropy Group, I remember talking in our meeting about how we were tagging all of the buildings on campus that had been affected by private giving. And as you can tell from looking at our campus today, that's pretty much all of them. These examples of what is supported through private giving helped me understand how much philanthropy does for our university and for our students. The Student Philanthropy Group's role on campus is to show students what philanthropy and private support has done for us. It can be really rewarding to encourage others to learn about the effect that private giving has had on their education and their experiences at Iowa, because philanthropy does impact everyone. A second role of the Student Philanthropy Group is to serve as representatives of the University of Iowa student body at Foundation events. We get the opportunity to meet and talk to university donors and hear about their times as students and about the university causes that matter most to them. Connecting with these donors who are so passionate about the future of the university and who so deeply value philanthropy is really inspirational. It shows that living life as a philanthropist is as contagious as it is fulfilling. This year, our Life with Phil speaker is Dr. Sue Beckwith. Dr. Beckwith is a University of Iowa graduate who specializes in colorectal surgery. She recently completed her executive MBA degree at Iowa while continuing her medical practice and serving as a clinical associate in the University of Iowa Department of Surgery. Dr. Beckwith has been one of the university's greatest supporters and continues to make the future of the University of Iowa her priority. She became the first woman to have a university building named in honor of her visionary leadership gift for the Sue Beckwith Boathouse in 2010. She also has established 3 student scholarships, the Christine H.B. Grant Scholarship Fund, the Sue Beckwith Rowing Scholarship Fund, and the Sue Beckwith Women's Basketball Scholarship Fund. These scholarships help support students at Iowa so that they're able to be successful both academically and with the extracurriculars that they're involved with. Dr. Beckwith is as much of a leader at the university as a supporter, and she has served on many university boards and committees, including her current position as one of the 4 Iowa Forevermore campaign co-chairs. She was a founding member of the Dean's Advisory Board for the UI College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and she is a member of the UI Foundation Board of Directors. She also has been president of the Varsity Club Board and has received the Alumni Association's Distinguished Alumni Award for Service in 2010. In her professional career, Dr. Beckwith spent 10 years on the Executive Council of the Iowa chapter of the American College of Surgeons, including 1 year as president, and she represented Iowa on the National Organization's Board of Governors from 2004 to 2007. She also held the position of Vice President of the American Society of Colon and Rectal Surgeons from 2007 to 2008, and since 2003, she has been a Senior Associate Examiner for the American Board of Colon and Rectal Surgery. Needless to say, Dr. Beckwith is an outstanding physician and active philanthropist for Iowa. As a pre-medical student, Dr. Beckwith's professional accomplishments, as well as her generosity and commitment to the university, inspire me to stay active in philanthropy throughout my life and career. I'm sure you're all excited to hear from such an inspirational and passionate supporter for our university, so please help me welcome our 2016 Life with Phil speaker, Dr. Sue Beckwith.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's great to see so many people here. You know, I am not a joke teller, and I know you're supposed to start off a lecture with a joke, right? But I can't help, after hearing you talk about my lack of prowess of being somebody who does any public speaking, I have to tell you about a conversation I had with my friend the other day, and I was talking about needing to come to do this, and he said, you know, Seinfeld does this thing where he talks about the things that people are most afraid of. What's your biggest fear? And number 1, of course, is public speaking, and then down the road is, you know, like 6 is dying. So he said, you know, that means when you go to a funeral, that 8 out of the 10 people in that room would rather be in the casket than the guy giving the eulogy. So I hope you'll bear with me a bit, but I am absolutely so honored and I must say so humbled to be here. I think Lynette might tell you that it took me a little bit of time to answer her, and the real reason for that was that I couldn't read the email. She emailed me and I opened it and I could tell what it was about, and it absolutely scared me to death. So I shut it. A couple days later, I opened it, and I read it, and I got through a few more words like, yikes, you know, are you serious? And I closed it again. So it took me a while to get through it and to finally answer her. And the reason for that was I knew very well who had given this talk, Janice Ellig and John Papajohn and Henry Tippie and Jerry Stead, Gary Seaman, you know, and I knew all the wonderful things that they had done, like the Tippie College of Business that I'm now a graduate, or the Stead Family Children's Hospital, okay, or the Papajohn everything, you know. And I thought, what in the world can we, as the average Joe, or the average Phil, as it were, possibly have in common with them? But as I listened to their stories, I got to know some things that really I found some really common threads. If you listen to John Papajohn, he was raised during the Depression in Mason City, and his family had a grocery store, and that's how they got by. Or Henry Tippie talks about how he would not have been able to come to the University of Iowa without somebody helping him. And Jerry Stead or Gary Siemens, by their own description, came from kind of humble beginnings. So I began to see some threads. I was raised by a single mother. And although I certainly never lacked for food or clothing or roof over my head, and certainly for love, I learned the realities of the financial realities of life pretty early. The reason was my mom had health problems, and we had no insurance. And back in those days, there wasn't anything such as Medicaid. So if you had a health problem, it was cash, or debt, as it were. So imagine, if you will, paying cash for a cardiac catheterization. So I remember vivid memories of my sister and I running around in Rochester, Minnesota, up at the Mayo Clinic. Because back in those days, if you didn't have insurance, you couldn't make an appointment. So I remember Mom would come and sit in these huge auditoriums in the back of the auditorium and sit and wait all day. And if somebody didn't show up for their appointment, you could go. If they didn't, you came back the next day. So my sister and I had plenty of time to run around in the subways, the walking subways of Rochester, Minnesota. One of our favorite things was to go to the museum. And I remember going to a display where they had like crude surgical instruments, antique things, and right next to that there was this big display of all the stuff they had taken out of people. You know, everything that these people had swallowed and so on. And I really think that is originally what sparked my interest in surgery when I saw all those things. And I also have vivid memories of lots of trips to Des Moines. I lived in Boone, and we made a lot of trips to Des Moines. And that wasn't for entertainment. We came to Des Moines to visit the IRS office because we were always behind. We lost our house. I never had to move, but we lost all the equity in our house. And I hated that. I hated being there and doing that. Despite that, my mom was a very generous person, and she gave very generously of her time and her talents. And over the years, I learned about what a fantastically generous person my dad was. His passion really is to help people who have had some challenges in life. And he also has a passion for helping with education. So Charlie Becker is here today, and I think if you walked around Camp Courageous, you'd see a lot of buildings with my dad's name on it. And some of you here may have benefited from some of his scholarships that he has given through the Iowa Grocers Association. But despite all that, I was kind of a rebellious kid, and I had a temper, and I was not afraid to show it. But then I discovered athletics, and athletics to me was my haven. Athletics to me was where I learned so many of life's lessons of leadership and teamwork and time management and self-discipline, and how you can go out and put every single thing you have into something and go out and compete and lose, fail, and have to get up and do it the next day. I admit I was kind of a slow learner. And I can tell you that my very first basketball coach, my 8th grade coach, also recognized my temper. And he told me that if I ever got a T, I ever got a technical, I was sitting on the bench. Well, I don't need to tell you, right? My very first game, I got a technical, and I was sitting on the bench. And I didn't like it. So I learned that either I had to play by the rules or I wasn't going to get a play, and I wanted to play. For those that are wondering, no, it was not my last technical, and it was also not the last time I got benched for something. I don't know why I'm looking at you for that. It wasn't you. But athletics also allowed me to come to the University of Iowa. And we were one of the first classes of women that could benefit from Title IX. And although we didn't have full scholarships my first couple of years, we had tuition scholarships. And I was here part on tuition, part on academics and part on athletics. And then my latter 2 years, I had full athletic scholarships. So that really allowed me to get through undergrad without having a whole lot of debt. I had a manageable debt doing that. And then I transitioned to medical school and residency and fellowship and building a practice. And over the next 15 or 20 years, I was so focused. That's all I did. That's all I thought about. That's all I saw. And I didn't know there was anything outside of that. And I certainly lost my connection with the University of Iowa. But then the light started to come on a bit. And as already mentioned, Linda Maxon asked me to be on the Dean's Advisory Board of the College of Liberal Arts. And that was the first thing that I did, my first connection back on campus. And I'd come back and I'd come to Saturday Scholars. And I don't think we have that anymore, but Saturday Scholars on a football day, the professors would present their work. And I would come to those and I would see these professors and all the tremendous enthusiasm and love for their subject that they had and how they wanted to share it with the students. And then I'd come to students' presentations and I'd see all the wonderful things that they were doing. And it was contagious, and I wanted to be a part of it. So I gave a small gift. And the most unexpected and amazing thing happened, and that was, even though my gift was so small, I got so much back in return. I had no idea that that was going to happen, that I was going to feel like that. Over the years, I've had a chance to help in some fundraising. And when I did so, I would be doing something for a cause that I thought was very worthy. And I would talk to people who I knew had benefited from that. And when I'd talk to them and they would say no, I couldn't understand it. I'd get so frustrated. I'd say, what don't they get? They don't get it. They don't get that they were given something and they needed to give back. But more recently, I've come to really look at that from a different perspective. And now I think that probably it's one of two things. First thing is maybe they look at what they can do or what they think they can do, and they compare it to somebody else and say, I just can't make a difference, it doesn't matter. Or the second thing is maybe they've never had that experience that I described where they had given and gotten so much back in return. My sister recently gave me a book, and that book is entitled Every Gift Matters, and it's by Carrie Morgridge. And near the beginning of that book, she relates a story. There's a small boy and his mom walking along the beach, and they come upon a beach littered with thousands and thousands of starfish. They've been washed up by the tide, they're laying in the sun, and they're dying. And the little boy runs up and grabs one and picks it up and throws it in. And he grabs another one and throws it in, and the next one, the next one, the next one. And finally, Mom says, stop, you gotta stop. There's just so many of them. You can't make a difference. What you do, it just doesn't matter. And the little boy picks one up and he looks at it and he throws it out in the ocean. And he said, mattered to that one. We can't do everything, but we can do something. And whatever your passion is, that's okay. Mine happens to be helping student athletes and helping provide opportunity for them because that's what impacted my life. And I know from meeting those people that the quality of people that our student athletes, our coaches, and our administrators are, I know that every investment I make will pay huge dividends in the future. Other people may not think that giving to athletics is a worthy cause, something that's a good use of resources. But that's okay too, because for every need, there's a passion. For every cause, somebody else wants to do it, okay? So it's okay if what you do is something that somebody else doesn't think that is gonna help. Sometimes we can save only one starfish. So sometimes it's a whole lot of little gifts that make up a big gift. Or sometimes it's being just a catalyst. I certainly didn't pay for that whole boathouse, but I knew when I looked at that project that unless I stepped up and made the first commitment, that it wasn't going to happen. I've noticed something else interesting when I looked at the lives of other philanthropists. I was going to retire 15 years ago. People are still asking me, are you retired now? Because I was going to retire 15 years ago. And I've often said that one of the reasons that I continue to work, maybe even the reason, is because it's so darn much fun to give money away. And I listened to John Papajohn, he said the same thing. He said, I work because I like to give money away. A couple weeks ago, President Harold and Lynette and I were talking, and they were telling me what a wonderful experience it is to go to the last few hours of the dance marathon. And they said, when you see these young people, and they are absolutely and totally physically exhausted from dancing all night, yet on the other hand, they are so mentally and emotionally exhilarated as they see those numbers come up, and they realize what they've done and what an impact that they have made. So what is it that makes us continue to work, makes them go through all the physical pain and exhaustion of going through that? Well, the answer's obvious, right? What we get in return far outweighs all the effort that we put into that. The more passionate and involved we are, the more we're going to get back. As you also might imagine, I've had the opportunity over the years to give to many causes, but there's no question that there's never been an experience like that I have here at the University of Iowa when I give to the University of Iowa. I think some of you have heard me say before that others say that the University of Iowa is a special place, but to me, the university and the University of Iowa Foundation are places that are made up of special people. I know that here there's a need that fits with every passion, and I know that the foundation is an excellent steward of resources. And I am confident that any gift I give, whether it's large or whether it's small, that it's an investment that's going to reap huge dividends in the future. So that's my reward. And my hope for each of you is that you can identify your passion, and so that you can discover that the more of yourselves, the more of your time, your talents, and your treasures that you invest, the more that you're going to receive in return. That, to me, is the magic of being Phil. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sue, for rereading that email. We appreciate that very much. And as I said this morning, Sue may spend her day in the operating room, but it is truly her ability to communicate sincerely and generously that we knew made her an ideal selection for our Spring 2016 Phil's Day speaker. So thank you so much. We can't do everything, but we can do something. And I think that's what we all need to remember as we go through our lives and contribute that love and that friendship and that passion and that generosity. You are surrounded today by people who appreciate you. We've got wonderful representatives of University of Iowa, the athletics program, your colleagues on the University of Iowa Foundation Board, and we thank you for making this an extra special Phil's Day. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you all for coming. I was amiss in not reminding you that there are postcards all over campus to sign to thank those who are the Phils in our lives. Sue, thank you very much for being part of that life. Thank you.